Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video on the tropics. And so in this video we will be talking about newly formed tropical storm Karl, which is going to be bringing a lot of rainfall to portions of Mexico, and we're also going to be talking about a few tropical waves that are noted across the basin. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you never miss an important update video on the tropics. And to show your support for the channel, you can leave a like on this video. Okay, and so going back to infrared satellites here, we are seeing that we have some activity taking place. So there we have Karl over in the Gulf of Mexico. We have a tropical wave that has entered the Caribbean, and we see some activity taking place in portions of the Windward Islands and maybe Trinidad and Tobago as well. So if you're in those regions, you can let me know in the comments what's happening there. And then there are two tropical waves that are out in the main development region. So let's take a look at these systems close up, and we're going to be starting out with what's happening with Karl. And so here we are taking a closer look at the cyclone, and we see that it is not very organized right now, but it has reached that threshold to be considered a tropical storm. And being in the Gulf of Mexico, many persons would think that, oh, this is going to be rapidly intensifying, but thankfully that's not going to be the case with Karl, as conditions are not expected to be highly conducive there. So it's really that wind shear that is not so favorable, and that is going to be preventing the cyclone from intensifying much. And as a matter of fact, the peak intensity is expected to be around 50 miles per hour. So that's not a very strong tropical storm in terms of the wind speeds. However, the main issue with any landfall and tropical cyclone is usually with the water and not the wind. Of course, major hurricanes do significant wind damage, but the water is the main cause of fatalities with any landfall and tropical cyclone. So the heavy rainfall expected from Karl, as it is going to be moving inland, will likely result in mudslides and flooding across some sections of southern Mexico. And so let's go on to that cone of uncertainty, and we're seeing here that Karl is not expected to be moving very quickly over the next several days, and at the moment it has maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour and is slowly accelerating to the north-northwest at 6 miles per hour. So it's not going to be moving a whole lot, as I said, but gradually it is going to be making its way into southern Mexico. And there is a tropical storm watch that is currently in effect. And so that tropical storm watch is in effect for Cabo Rojo to Roca Partida. So persons in those areas can anticipate tropical storm conditions beginning by tomorrow. And so it's likely that this watch is going to be upgraded to a warning, by the way. So if you're in southern Mexico, please brace for all that increased heavy rainfall that is anticipated within your area. And that heavy rainfall could produce instances of flash flooding with mudslides in areas of higher terrain across portions of Veracruz and Tabasco states in Mexico. And tropical storm conditions, as I said, tropical storm conditions are possible beginning by about tomorrow night, Thursday night. So guys, again, please take all the necessary precautions and stay safe if you're to be affected by Karl. And so now let's go ahead and move on to those tropical waves that are noted across the area. And then we'll be looking at current conditions across the Atlantic basin. And so let's go ahead and start out with the Caribbean. So here we have all this activity associated with a tropical wave that is propagating westward across the area. And so as I said, it's likely that some of these activities is affecting portions of the Windward Islands as well as maybe Trinidad and Tobago. And some activities even noted in Venezuela as well. So it's likely that persons there are probably experiencing some rainfall as a result of this tropical wave making its way by. So you can let me know what's happening there, guys. And we also see a bit of activity across portions of the southern Caribbean, a lot of convection within that area right there, just off Costa Rica and Nicaragua. But as for the rest of the region, things are pretty calm for the most part. Nothing significant going on right now. And then as we take a look out into the Atlantic, we have the two axes of the other tropical waves. One is there and another is noted right within that region. And so we see a lot of activity. Development of these waves isn't expected as of right right now though. And going on to the conditions now, let's go ahead and begin with the sea surface temperature map. And we're seeing here that things are quite warm for the most part across most of the main development region, the Caribbean, and most of the Gulf of Mexico. So in terms of Karl, ocean temperatures are definitely favorable enough to allow for some intensification, but again, that wind shear is going to be a problem for it. And as I speak, let's go on to that wind shear map. And so we have the red, that means unfavorable wind shear, the yellow, that means neutral, and the green, that means favorable. And so there we have Karl over there in the Gulf of Mexico, and we see all those red lines indicating that there are strong upper level winds in the area. And so those usually help to prevent tropical cyclones from growing and displacing activity from the center of the system. And so Karl is expected to, as I said, it's not expected to significantly intensify because conditions won't be highly conducive. So that is some good news with it. But regardless, it is going to be bringing those significant impacts to Mexico in terms of all that heavy rainfall that will likely induce flooding and mudslides across some areas. And then here we have this water vapor map right here, and the yellow areas indicate dry air. And so in the vicinity of portions of the Caribbean, especially the northeastern Caribbean, we see that there is quite a bit of dry air within this area. And that dry air really helps to promote more stable conditions, that nice sunny weather, not a whole lot of rainfall activity taking place. So that will probably be the story for some of these areas across the northern Caribbean. And so as for all that activity out in the main development region, we're not seeing a whole lot of dry air within the region, but there is some that is noted to the north of that. And so guys, as we're going to be progressing to the next several weeks, let's see what's going to be happening with the tropics, if we're going to be having more activity. However, on this global tropics hazards outlook map here, we're seeing something a little bit interesting. So let's go ahead and talk about it. And so we're focusing on that first map that is for week 2, and this is for August 19th to the 25th. And down to the bottom we have the key or the legend that shows what each of the different colors and the intensity of the shades indicate. And so we have that slight pinkish shade that represents maybe around a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation. We have that stronger red for 40%, and then that burgundy shade for 60%. And so we're seeing that within this area here out in the main development region, right, where we have that green, and that green is indicating above average rainfall. In this case here, maybe a 50% chance of that happening. And so we're seeing that this area is highlighted here for this time between the 19th and 25th of October for possible development. And so this is quite interesting, and we'll definitely have to see what's going to be happening as we head into the next week, the next 2 weeks thereabout. But of course, this is an outlook, this is a forecast. It doesn't mean that this is going to actually take place, but we definitely have to keep our eyes on the tropics and see what's going to be happening, because the hurricane season is not over as yet. And so I'll be keeping you updated as time goes by, and that is really it for this update video. And so if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments, and you can also share your thoughts there. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.